Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to one and all who are here. Thank you very much for attending our monthly meeting. And we have wonderful past district governor Irena with us today. And we also have our board members. We've got Denise, we've got Ines, we've got Edgardo, and we've got one of our very popular follower, Dominica, who's been following us for many years now and attending our meetings. So a very warm welcome to her as well. And thank you very much. We shall start off with the four-way test and of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendship? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you very much. And it's over to, is it Ines? Oh.
Okay, this is my turn to introduce our guest. Let me find your bio. I will find it. Here it is. Don't worry. Okay, so we have Irena Britcha. Is it okay? Britcha?
Sure.
Okay. Sure, okay. From Rotary Club Prague International, District 2240, Czech Republic and Slovak Republic, Zone 21A. What she has done in her club, well, she is a founder member. She has been president 1998-99. She has been chair for vocational service and chair on Disaster Aid Europe, who is a project that is a project of Rotary Club Prague. About the district, membership, new clubs and alumni chair, DGN nomination committee, chair, vice governor 2020-2022, RLA chair, it's multi-zone institute chair, Prague in September the 21, chair of Women Are the Inspiration Conference in Prague 2019, chairman of RI Director Nomination Committee. Also, RI President Special Representative to Rotary Clubs of Siberia, yep, and Far East Russia, 2016-2018. She's a training leader, Rotary International Assembly in 2016, and training leader GETS in Madrid. Oh my gosh, Chair GETS and GNTS 2020.
There's too many of those things. It doesn't matter, Ines.
You've done so many things, my dear. And okay, what's very important, she's a member of WASH RAG, what means that she knows what a RAG is, and a Rotary Cycle Fellowship member since 2020. Now we have some personal information and Disaster Aid Europe. She is an Anglo-Czech, born and brought in the UK, of Czech parents, now living in Prague, Czech Republic. MBA degree, happily married to a Rotarian, Stuart Amsbury, and together they work and play to make the difference and change lives, especially through the work for Disaster Aid Europe. An NGO, Irena as chair and Stuart as a trustee, and which is a project of their Rotary Club in Prague, which was founded in 2018. And I think more important is that she was cancelled and has been recognized by Rotary International in 2019 as collaborating organization. They focus on rebuilding communities after a disaster, which usually includes on providing clean and drinking water. And I think that's okay to have a shot of who is Irena. So The meeting is all
Thank
yours.
you.
I think.
Thanks very much indeed. And I'm sure everyone has remembered that. I'll give you a test, but don't worry. It's a pleasure. It's an honor to be amongst you, really. I just like yourselves, I love everything there is about Rotary. Rotary is one of those things where, you know, one of those passions that we all share. And because we all share, of course, the passion of helping others, doing good, and above all, making a difference. And maybe that's just something that we're born with, maybe nurtured by our families and our parents, and something which, of course, the four-way tests reminds us, you know, if you like, how we should think and how we should act. So yes, Anglo-Czech, so multicultural. My parents were Czech, came to the UK after the war, and that's where I grew up and was educated. And you know, after I got my degree, which didn't really prepare me for much of a job because it was in Czech and archaeology, I thought, what shall I do? I was very lucky. And sometimes one has to be in the right place at the right time. And I got a job. That time, one of the medical companies of Johnson & Johnson in Scotland was looking for someone to be responsible for Eastern Europe. And of course, I had one of the languages, Czech. They'd never had a woman in the export sales force, and we're talking about the late 1970s. So it really was quite I suppose, a challenge for them to offer me the job. I suppose I didn't realize until later, really, because the company was very Scottish, very traditional. Yeah, it was a great opportunity. And I think all of you can probably look back to your lives and see how certain decisions, you know, changed your life or showed you which road that you should go along. So that started me off actually working in Central East Europe, using my language, using my French and my German as well. I did a lot of traveling. It was about 4 or 5 years of touring with a Volvo car, and we're talking about the early 1980s, when it was still all a communist regime in these East European countries. And I was a woman on my own, driving in a Volvo car with brochures and samples. And what was I selling, or what was I promoting? It was actually surgical sutures, which is essentially sterile needle and thread to sew up people at operations. And in that part of the world of Russia and East Europe, they were using basically polyester thread or nylon thread with an eyed needle, which is very difficult if you're trying to do vascular surgery, heart surgery, plastic surgery. You really need just a needle, and out of the end of the needle coming a thread. So I was just selling these sterile, or if you like, promoting these sterile products and traveling around Eastern Europe on my own. Fascinating, absolutely wonderful, a great opportunity. And then, of course, the fall of the wall. I spent 4 years in Hungary. And after that, I was offered another job in headhunting, in recruitment. And I came to Prague in 1994. And that's in a way where I met up with Rotary, although, of course, I'd known Rotary from the UK. And it was 1997 when I was invited to a men's club, a Rotary club that was all men. I spoke to them, but in the end, they decided they weren't going to accept women. So somebody else suggested, would I like to help them form a mixed club? English speaking, and that's exactly what I did. In 1998, we were chartered, so we're in our 26th year, Rotary Club Prague International. The interesting thing is about these post-communist countries, you were talking Czechoslovakia, we're talking Czech Republic, Slovakia, we're talking Hungary, Poland, etc. They had Rotary before the Second World War. And in fact, Czechoslovakia, as it then was, had been the third strongest Rotary district after the UK and France in Europe, which is absolutely amazing. And in fact, Czech Republic and Slovak Republic, Czechoslovakia as it then was, had such a strong movement in Rotary and had helped Austria to start. Well, of course, today, Austria has over 8,000 Rotarians and 2 districts, but as a post-communist country where for 40 years Rotary couldn't be, obviously the Czech Republic and Slovak Republic is one district. We try still to be one country. We just have 1,800 Rotarians at the moment. And that probably then brings me on to this challenge of Rotary, not just in the post-communist countries, but in a huge place like Russia, where they're also, as in these past communist countries, there wasn't the tradition of philanthropy, there wasn't the vision or even the idea of volunteering. So and it still is the case when you talk to Russians, even to Rotarians, how they find it difficult in Russia, whether it's West Russia, East Russia, because most of the public believe that the state should still be looking after them, that the state should look after the disadvantaged, the handicapped, and all those people who fall within a certain line and, let's say, are underprivileged. That has been the problem here in these countries as well, and still is even today in these post-communist countries. So I just wanted to sort of set the scene a little bit, because when I became a district governor, and that's exactly 10 years ago, 2013, 2014, it opened a whole new world to me. And I was traveling around, visiting all the clubs and everything in the Czech Republic, in the Slovak Republic. We're trying to get more women to join Rotary. We still only have 16% ladies, unfortunately, in this part of the world. And I was very lucky, because suddenly when you become a past district governor, the world of Rotary opens up even more for you. It's just incredible. I mean, of course, for any Rotarian, the world is open for you anyway, to work on projects, to join Rotary action groups, I mean, everything. But for a district governor, for a leader within Rotary, you then have some extra special, if you like, roles, which you can sometimes be lucky to fulfill. And I was invited to be a training leader, to train incoming district governors. Well, what a challenge. Little did I realize it's a very tough job. All district governors they used to go to San Diego. That's where I went to be a training leader with my husband. Now it's Orlando, 538 district governor-elects and their spouses. And it's 5 days of really intensive work. But before that, there's 5 days where the training leaders have to train themselves, right, to know and understand how to facilitate discussion. Because when you have a group of DGEs, usually 23 of them, 2023, and you have to facilitate discussion on a specific Rotary topic, believe me, it's like trying to manage wild horses, because everybody wants to speak, everybody has an opinion. And of course, it's important that everybody is given a chance to discuss, but it certainly is true that in that kind of facilitated discussion, people actually learn a lot. They hear a lot of good ideas, they learn a lot of new things, and that's why that there is, apart from plenary sessions in the International Assembly for District Governor-elects, there's also this ability to have these discussion groups, which are marvelous. So it was a great challenge, lots of hard work, and a wonderful opportunity to meet these incoming district governors. And that's what Rotary has done, certainly for me, is just open up the world to so many incredible experiences, and also to develop my skills. Because, you know, even though one may have learned how to facilitate discussions, this was actually honing those skills and, if you like, making me a little bit better. So it was very interesting because that was 2016 and 2017. We were both very privileged to be invited back to the International Assembly, and only 10 couples out of the 40 are ever asked to come back a second time to train district governor-elects. Because, of course, quite rightly, Rotary tries to give so many of the people within Rotary a chance to develop their skills and also to give something back. So it was probably in January 2016, and that's when Stuart and I started this training leader, position in International Assembly. I was asked, and I think it must have been President Ravi Ravindra, whether I would look after the Rotarians in East Russia. Well, I don't speak Russian, right? I speak Czech, not Russian. There's similar Slav language, but still there's a Cyrillic alphabet, which is different. And you know, I had never really learnt Russian, but I said, yes, I'm up for a challenge, if that's what you'd like me to do. So in February 2016, I became the President's Special Representative for Siberia and Far East Russia. So I will now share, hopefully it'll work. Yes, here it is. So let me just sound. Okay, there's that. And share. You should be able to see that, I hope. Yeah, good, excellent. So let me see if I can make it slideshow. Come on. Yes. Now, of course, I was doing some of these slides at the last minute, as we do, don't we, sometimes? So just really to try to give you a little bit of an idea, you know, how big Russia is, as you can see here, you know, compared to the rest of the world. And just to show you, because that will be quite important, the very short here Bering Strait between Russia and the United States. Okay, and that's fairly significant. We'll come back to that later. Now let's see if it works. Yes. So here we have basically the two districts. But if you remember what I showed you, that the West Russia, maybe I can go back to it. Yeah, here, where this part of Russia is so close to the United States. So Siberia and Far East Russia, those clubs, I mean, Rotary started there essentially in 1990. Yes, that's right. You know, approximately 1991, when the fall of the wall came. And here was Alaska, and that was a Rotary district as well. Well, for 20 years, essentially, from 1990, Alaska was responsible for Siberia and Far East Russia. So essentially, the district governor from Alaska always went for 2 trips in his or her district governor year, and did a visit to the 20-odd clubs and the 450 Rotarians in Siberia and Far East Russia. However, probably, and I'm trying to think exactly when it was, I think it was 2012, something like that. Rotary International created, actually, I should explain, this is West Russia here. And West Russian Rotary clubs were actually looked after by Denmark, by Finland, and by Sweden. Whereas this area here which is Siberia and Far East Russia. Far East Russia was looked after by Alaska. So then in 2012, it was decided by Rotary International, well, we'll divide it into 2 districts, and we'll have Siberia and Far East Russia, and we'll have the West Russia as a district. So for about 10, I think it was 2012, possibly, yes. For quite a number of years then, West Russia was a district, but Far East Russia and Siberia, they probably were a district for about 4 years. And then sadly, there was a bit of an issue, and Rotary International undistricted them. So what I want to say is that what I came into it that in 2016, this area 22-25 was undistricted, and someone had to manage them. So de facto, I kind of became a sort of district governor to them. But let me show you a little bit closer. An area here is Magadan Rotary Club, Kamchatka. Okay, this is Far East Russia. And here we are. I'm bringing it a little bit closer to you. Magadan is quite important because that was the very first Rotary Club ever set up in 1993 in Magadan, in this very Far East Russia region. And it's quite an interesting place because it was only founded in 1930 by Stalin as a major transit center for labor camps. And then people went off to the gulags, unfortunately. And there is a mask of sorrow above Magadan, which commemorates all those people who died in the gulags in the Soviet Union in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. And of course, that is still happening today. So Rotary Club Magadan was the first club in Russia. Isn't that amazing? Well, why is that? Because Nadezhda Pap was the mother of Rotary. Fantastic Rotarian. She lived in Magadan, and she then later on moved to Moscow and helped set up the Rotary Club Moscow East. And as you can see the dates here, they were part of Alaska until 2012, then for 4 years, East Russia District, and then undistricted. And essentially, I looked after them for 2016 and 2017. So we had pets in Moscow in 2016. And these are actually the presidents of clubs from Siberia and from Far East Russia. We all met in Moscow to have, if you like, a bigger pets of both West District and East District. But of course, I was, if you like, de facto the district governor of this eastern part. And maybe just a couple of little interesting points. You may or may not know the Amur River is an absolutely huge, wide river in Russia. Here I am with Faina. Faina was the interpreter translator for 20 years for the Alaskan district governors. And she then very kindly agreed and was paid something by Rotary International to be my interpreter translator. So every time we went to one of the clubs, and there were 20 clubs, every time we went to one of the clubs, they greeted Faina like a long lost soul, if you like, that they hadn't seen for a long time, because they had known her for 20 years. She was coming into their club regularly with the district governor. So she came amongst friends, and it was very easy to then be, if you like, accepted. You know, my role was to meet with every club, go and visit them, motivate them, you know, bring them news of other things happening in Rotary and also in other countries. And essentially, you know, trying to encourage them in a very difficult environment to you know, to still do their projects, and they've got some fantastic projects. So that's the Amur River. That was in Khabarovsk. And here, just where the bears are, that's Kamchatka, a very similar part of the world to Alaska, where, as you can see, they have lots of salmon, all different kinds, I think 6 or 7 different kinds, and salmon eggs, you know, like salmon caviar. I mean, it was amazing. And, you know, everywhere I went, there was so many, you know, interesting things to see. Like, for example, this top right-hand picture in a very modern, small airport. And I think it was in Kamchatka, actually. I decided to take a photograph of this fire extinguisher because I hadn't seen one of these before. And, you know, it was just amazing how many, you know, things that you actually saw there, which maybe I hadn't come across, you know, before. Right. Okay. Sorry. Let me just do this. So in a way, I had this incredible opportunity to visit, and I will try to show you as we go here. You can see Novosibirsk, Krasnoyarsk. There isn't a Rotary club in Krasnoyarsk, but there is in Novosibirsk. There's one in Yakutsk. And there we are. So I went and visited all of these clubs, all quite different, of course, projects, a different, you know, kind of approach. Novosibirsk was, you know, fascinating. The Tsar of Russia had you know, started the Trans-Siberian Express train there. And in fact, we went from Omsk to Novosibirsk on the train. That actually is a 12-hour trip. So it was overnight. You know, we drove then from Novosibirsk to Kemerovo, as you can see down here, right? That's a 3-hour drive in the middle of nowhere. No villages, no towns. Just a huge expanse of green and a few forests, basically. And of course, you know, when you go to a place like Yakutsk, there's permafrost. You know, it's like places in Alaska. And then, you know, Magadan, I've told you about already. Kamchatka, I didn't see any bears, but I did sample salmon. But amazingly, Sakhalin Island, right next to it, which isn't shown here, is Japan. Well, Sakhalin Island, which was occupied by the Japanese for 10 years, from 1910 until 1945, so longer than 10 years. There are traces still of the Japanese there, but what there are traces of in Sakhalin are Korean descendants. Now, why is that? Because Japan, during the war, used Sakhalin Island as, if you like, a prison of war camp for Koreans. And many of the Koreans after the war actually stayed there. So you have a very mixed population. And quite a high percentage of Korean descendants. Very underdeveloped, but a beautiful, beautiful island. And then you have places, here's Khabarovsk that I showed you where the Amur River is, and then Vladivostok, amazing because, you know, it's actually looks very German. Many Germans and Scandinavians went there under the Tsar, and so many buildings are actually very Germanic, and you feel as if you're in the middle of Europe, which is incredible. And then when you visit somewhere like Ulan-Ude, that's very close to Mongolia. So, of course, you have people with features that are Mongolian. And in fact, in Ulan-Ude, you know, you have temples. There is, I think, one of the largest, you know, temples outside of Mongolia, and now I've forgotten it. You know, yeah, senior moment. Sorry. Anyway, it's just, you know, it's just amazing. And you know, obviously, you know, religion is allowed in Russia today, but you know, you can't be well, you can't be in opposition, of course, to Putin. So as long as you just do it quietly, you know, it's okay. And then somewhere like Irkutsk is amazing because, of course, it's right next to Lake Baikal, which is the largest freshwater lake and the deepest in the world. You know, it's amazing in this vast area how Russian Rotarians manage to do their projects. They feel a part of Rotary. And what you should know today is that in 2018, as I was finishing my 2-year stint, I was asked to take part in the discussions about making a Rotary district in one. As I think I said to you, yes, here. In 2019 was started this One Russian pilot scheme for 6 years, but I think it will go on for longer, especially now that we have the war in Ukraine. And, you know, we really, outsiders can't really travel to Russia very easily these days. So Rotary in Russia now is 1 district, but 5 regions. So there's 1 district governor, but 5, if you like, regional directors. There's 3 in West Russia and 2 in Siberia. And so there's 3 in that former district of 2022 and 2 here, i.e. Siberia and Far East Russia. So, and it's 11 time zones, can you believe it? And essentially I was traveling all the time. When I visited, it was usually for a couple of weeks, and it was probably in those 2 years, I probably went, I think, at least 5 times, if not 6 times. And it was always to visit the clubs, always to help them, always to support them. And in most cases, you fly, you know, because the distances, you know, are so huge. So just to finish off, I'm now involved with Disaster Aid Europe, which is part of Disaster Aid International. These are all the disaster aid entities. We have a council meeting. We're all partners in Disaster Aid International, which is not a legal entity. The legal entities are each of these organizations. And Stuart and I set up Europe in 2018. And in 2019, Rotary International recognized Disaster Aid International as a collaborating organization. We can't be a partner of Rotary International, and the reason is because we're not centrally organized, either financially or from a deployment point of view. Each of us are our own legal entity. We do our own projects. Sometimes we, of course, share projects, and we raise our own money, essentially. So this is us. We started, as I say, we've had our 5-year anniversary. We've done a number of deployments after an earthquake to Albania, to Beirut in the Lebanon after a port explosion, to the Ukraine, of course, which is ongoing because of the war there, and to Turkey. And in fact, as I speak, my husband Stuart has landed in Lusaka, Zambia. with a couple of colleagues, and they're doing a needs assessment and meeting the 7 Lusaka Rotary clubs, and also the RI director for Africa, Patrick Chinzanga. We're meeting with his club there, Rotary Club Nakwazi. And the focus is, how can Disaster Aid Europe help and support the Rotary clubs of Lusaka, particularly with the cholera epidemic in Zambia, because that has reared its ugly head again, and that's what we're hoping to support the local Rotarians. So this is the kind of thing that we've done, is take, we have this trailer, we've taken, our aid ourselves to Uzhhorod. Slovakia has a common border with Ukraine, and it's 100 kilometers from Košice, Slovakia, to Uzhhorod. We supplied a community support vehicle to the Ukraine, and it was taken by 2 volunteers to Kiev. So the bottom picture is already in Kiev. The top picture is in Prague, saying goodbye. We do it a little bit smarter now. We're not taking our own trailer all of that 1,000 kilometers away into the Ukraine. We now get the Finnish district, for example, to raise 26,000 euros, which purchased 70 Ueta water filters, and we facilitated them to be received by the Košice Rotarians, and then the Uzhhorod Rotarians came in the 100 kilometers to collect that, and they transported these 70 water filter units, which are really family units, to Kharkiv, so that the Rotary Club Kharkiv Multinational could distribute it to families. But there's a guy called Artur in the middle of the picture up there. Just here is Ludmila. This is Artur, her son. He continues to live in Ukraine. Ludmila lives in Prague and has a cleaning business with her husband. And we took our trailer to another place in Prague, and we gave them soya water filters and hygiene packs, which Artur then took into the Ukraine to distribute. So we've promoted Disaster Aid Europe, of course, at conferences. Here you can see Jennifer Jones with the CEO of Ueta. Here we are with Sergei from the Ukraine. We appealed for money for Albania. Why? Because we were then able to purchase a sky hydrant, which is a fantastic community water filter invented in Australia. And they have in the middle of nowhere a water fountain, because in the middle of nowhere here in Albania, in Durrës, after the earthquake, they created a new university buildings, but there was no infrastructure. So if they would have, the students would have to buy water, and so here they actually can have water on hand. And then the Beirut explosion, we did 8 visits in all and deployed to Beirut, where we helped a charity hospital that was really devastated. Here's Stuart, my husband, helping. And Sister Nicola, the nun who is the director of the hospital. And again, we provided a sky hydrant, which was donated by Disaster Aid Australia. And it was put into the kitchen so that clean drinking water could be provided to the hospital, to the patients, and to their visitors. Turkey, Syria earthquake, which you've heard about, of course. Devastation on a huge scale. The 3 Turkish districts have been building container cities, and Stuart has been there as an ex-construction person. We've also been providing Ueta water filters on the end of the tap, so that it's clean drinking water, regardless from where the water comes from. It eliminates metals, chemicals, bacteria, viruses. So there's the water filtration devices that we promote. Rotary clubs and others can purchase and we do the training and installation of something like the Sky Hydrant. And Stuart went back to the Lebanon last year and trained a group where they installed 7 Sky Hydrants for local communities. This is the GEM, which is very practical as a response for a community, say in the Ukraine or after a disaster. The Ueta Care water filter system, and of course there's other things that can be provided like the solar lamps naturally. We do wash training. And we're always looking for volunteers, of course, and that's essentially it. So Rotary doesn't stop. You all know that yourselves. You're all involved with you know, communities, with making sure that we're all there to make a difference. And I suppose what I wanted to just tell you was, that was my little story of how I came to join Rotary, all what I've been doing in Rotary, and how wonderful it is that one can make a difference, that one can help, and that one can join together with other Rotarians, because isn't it fantastic that we belong to this wonderful family that does so much? And the Rotary action groups are really there right at the coalface, changing people's lives and making a difference. And so I'm very proud to be here today, and my wonderful friends Inez and Eduardo, who helped me when I came to Argentina to help my cousin who had been injured in a heritage railway crash, and they became my dear friends and my family over Christmas and the New Year. Thank you.
Wow. Irena, thank you so much. I think I step in because the questions should be moderated by Adama, but it seems that she couldn't join today, so I will substitute her the best way I can.
Of course.
It was much more than a small story of yours. I was sitting here with my iPad following the geography of Russia over to Japan, over to Alaska, and in fact, we always see the world from a different perspective, literally, because when we see a world map, we usually see it from with Europe in the center. It was nice to turn it around and get the feeling of how close Russia and Alaska and the United States are. I think there are already questions. Dominica, raise your hand. Please start, Dominica, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Yes, I agree. The information that Irena gave us was absolutely second to none. I knew so little I learned about Russia at school, but I think I learned a lot more about Russia just in the few minutes that we were looking at her slideshow. I'm afraid I had a phone call and I missed the beginning of the presentation, but I think I got most of it. And I also wanted to comment on her remark about how, as Rotarians, we can network around the world, and say that since 2020, we actually, the gift that COVID gave us was what we're doing now, the facility to interact with one another virtually and get to know one another has been such an opportunity to bring Rotarians closer together and collaborate further, because I know that my own club has made friends with other clubs around the world. We've had assistance with some of our projects. One of the Rotarians that I met online in 2020 actually came to visit me recently from Canada. So it has been a wonderful opportunity to get more and more involved with Rotarians around the world. Thank you so much for the wonderful presentation, Irena. It really was very interesting indeed.
Thank you.
I would like just to ask a question is to understand this a little better, because you said that this part of Eastern Russia was undistricted, and then actually you were called to visit the clubs and support them with their projects. Actually, you were doing the district governor's work in that area, right? Because as you described it, it very much sounded like that.
Yes, yes. In a way, absolutely. I mean, look, the reason why they were undistricted was because they had a district governor elect, a wonderful guy, great ideas, an entrepreneur. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter what his views are, but he was if you like, for the opposition. He supported Navalny. And the unfortunate thing was that he appeared at opposition demonstrations. And this is, before 2016. He wore a Rotary shirt. And so the 4 district governors before him felt that he should maybe, not be a district governor for a year, let everything calm down, and then, come back to be district governor. But he wouldn't do that. And of course, as you probably know, once you're a district governor nominee or even elect, you have to resign either due to ill health or whatever. Technically speaking, even if your district want you to leave and everybody agrees that you should leave, it can't happen anymore, because because the district governor elect, is supported by Rotary International. But because the interesting thing is, and not many people really know this, a district governor is actually, although selected by the district governor becomes the Rotary International representative in the district. In a sense, they don't belong anymore to the district, even though they're the district governor. They are now part of Rotary International and representing Rotary International in the district. So, there was nothing to be done. There was a lot of argument, a lot of unrest, and numbers of Rotarians decided that they would leave if he became the district governor, because they were frightened of what would happen, that maybe Putin might then say, Rotary couldn't carry on, or some of these people would be put on a blacklist because they were Rotarians. Essentially, it was rather a frightening time for the Rotarians. So the Rotary International decided that they would undistrict the clubs, and therefore they wouldn't have a district governor. In fact, that particular DGE had already applied for and received emigration status to Israel. So after a year, he left Russia anyway. So yes, I, in a sense, was a long distance district governor, but my duty was to try to keep motivating them, try to keep them, working as Rotarians until there could be a decision about, well, are they going to join with the other district? Will they have their own district governor? All of those things. But of course, Rotary International also wanted them to be democratic. But I'm sorry to say, and Rotarians in Russia will tell you, that they don't feel comfortable with too much democracy. They feel more comfortable if they're being told what to do, within a very strict framework, and they feel very uncomfortable with too much freedom. It's the reasons why Putin is so successful, and why people love him in the main, because he's a strong personality, a strong leader, and they want to have someone to lead them, and they want someone to tell them what to do. anyway, so I had to have this, I had to sort of drive this fine line of trying to get them to use their initiative, although that is difficult when they actually just want to follow instructions. But at the same time, try to instill in them, the ability to do things out of the box, to see the world slightly differently, to do things because they believe in it and not because somebody is telling them to do it. But at the same time, to try to manage them and manage their expectations. So I can tell you it was quite a challenge.
This was going through our mind. You were just reading my last thought. Because at the beginning you said Rotary opened the world to you, and I took my notes that it helped you develop your skills and getting better in what you were doing. And I think we all have made this experience, because it starts with the pets, where we learn how to be a president of our club or a secretary of our club, but then we progress with whatever we learn from Rotary, because there are so many areas where we are taught how to become better in what we are doing. But what you were just describing goes far beyond that, because it's also a cultural challenge to yes, to defend values of Rotary that are the freedom of speech and the democracy, and that we all have the same rights. And also, this is the essential element of Rotary, that none of us is the forever leader, that we are all stepping back after a year and someone else of us will take the lead. And this goes very much in opposition to what you were just telling about this mentality in Russia. So it must have been a big challenge for you and a very interesting time. Yeah.
It was. But in a sense, it's the same challenge that you in your Rotary Action Group face, breaking the silence, yes, making a difference in that area. It's that challenge is also not that easy.
No, I know. You're right. We all know that. We have made our experiences. But yeah, it's interesting to hear about this challenge too, because it really, now this is opening the world to us, what you're telling us, because these are things we have not been we've not been aware of. Sure. Ines just raised her hand. Please, Ines, over to you.
Yeah, okay. Just wondering if you are intending to do something in this conflict in Gaza, because I think there's a disaster too. And just to know if you have the intention of reach this place of the world.
There are a lot of challenges, with this, with the situation in Gaza. And I think with that, Disaster Aid Europe feels that, yes, we want to help our Palestinian Rotarians, because there are Palestinian Rotarians. There is, in fact, a Rotary Club in Jerusalem, Palestinian Rotary Club. We want to help, the Israeli Rotary clubs. But I think we don't feel that in that kind of situation that we feel that the relief agencies have got a big enough job and a difficult enough job and a challenging enough job as it is. We don't know the first thing about that. In the sense, it's, with the Ukraine, because our Ukraine Rotarians have got such a strong network, and most of them, of course, live outside of the actual war front. They have been able to create, transport hubs and channels, and projects, how to help people, how to help the victims, even in the front line, through the volunteers that are there with the army. But so we work with those Rotarians on the ground and, you know, what is it you need? So we send them generators, or, you know, Rotary clubs send them water filters. I think with the Gaza thing, you know, the Israeli and Palestinian Rotary clubs have said, well, yes, if you can give, you know, money, that would be great, because we anyway are giving, you know, that money to, you know, to the relief organizations that are actually trying to get the food and you know, and help those people who are the victims. So it's not the ideal answer, but we don't feel competent about just like we don't feel competent, you know, as regards the Ukraine situation, but we work with the Rotarians. So we have been talking to Palestinian Rotarians as well as to Israeli Rotarians, you know, and to be honest, one of the things that they absolutely want everyone to do is just to write to them and say, we're thinking of you, because they otherwise feel very alone.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
I would like just to add one little comment. This is a very personal comment of mine, because I am German, and I grew up in Germany. I was 15 years old when the wall fell that divided my country into two countries, into Western and Eastern Germany. And in your presentation, you mentioned the fall of the wall. And I don't know if anybody else felt immediately reminded that this must have been the wall in Berlin. It was the wall in my country. So I don't know if anybody else of our listeners was aware of that. So it's interesting for me, because obviously in my country, this was a very, it was a huge impact on my country and on our population. Everything happened so fast. We never thought this was happen, at least not that quickly, and so peacefully. It was a huge moment and a beautiful moment for our country. But knowing that this fall of the wall was creating waves so far away, that it really opened the doors for a Rotary in Siberia, it's a nice imagination for me. So thank you for this impulse. Just needed to say that.
And that's so true, Denise. You're absolutely right. If you think about, you know, that was a significant historic moment,
yes,
right? The fall of the Berlin Wall, because it also reunited Germany, right?
Yes.
And in that sense also, it allowed for, you know, Rotary to, you know, either be created in some of these countries or be regenerated, because, you know, in in Czechoslovakia, our oldest club was from 1925, Rotary Club Praha, and as I told you, you know, we were very strong before the Second World War, being the third strongest in Europe as a district, and then 40 years of nothing. So yes, that fall of the wall then created this incredible impact for all of us, and allowed the rejoining of all of this and the rejuvenation of Rotary, you know, in all of these countries, which is tremendous.
It is, yes. It makes me goosebumps listening to you. But I'm personally implicated, so obviously I'm more emotional about what has happened in my country all those years ago. If we don't have any more questions, we are also running out of time. I would like to thank you, Irena, for the time, but more than anything else, for everything you shared with us, for your experiences that were really impressive. I think I have been listening to you, like, yeah, very concentrated, and as I said, with a map of Russia in front of me. It was very insightful, and it was great to hear about this. Yeah, this concept that the district can be undistricted. I have never heard about that. I don't know if this has happened anywhere in the world before, or if this is a singular case. So thank you very, very much for sharing all this with us. You have made a very interesting journey within Rotary, and I'm sure you have changed thousands and thousands of lives on this planet. You're a great inspiration to all of us. And it's not the first time that I think that. I have met you in other meetings, and I have always thought that when I met you. So thank you for sharing this particularly with us today. And thank you everybody else for joining us today. Our time is over. We can stay to do some fellowship, but our meeting officially is over. Thank you very much and have a wonderful weekend.